and then I think we're going. Oh, I lost my shoe. Hello, I lost my shoe. Okay, so we're gonna go over about 3 different of your exercises for 231, for the end of 231, and then I'm gonna do 232 as well today. So we're gonna talk about, the first exercise is the histology of nervous tissue. So really quick, just there's a couple things I see in here. So CNS and PNS. CNS, central nervous system, brain and spinal cord. PNS, peripheral nervous system. Out here, all the stuff out here, you can think about all the nerves that are out here. So that's one little thing. Now we're going to talk about nervous tissue. So first thing we're going to talk about is neurons. Okay, so nervous tissue, back from beginning of 231, you talked about nervous tissue, and you had neurons and neuroglial cells. And so here's a neuron. Here it is. And so you're going to want to know all the parts of this. And this is model NE01. I would definitely look at it. So this is the cell body of your neuron up here. And inside, there's a few things you need to know. So the rough ER is now they're called Nissl bodies. I don't know. It's just a different name. The little extensions that are coming off the cell body, these are called dendrites. Okay? And here's one trick. These other pieces that are connecting, these are the axon terminals from the other neurons connecting to this one. So don't be confused by that. So you've got dendrites of your neuron, and then the neuron that's connecting to it, that's the axon terminal of some other neuron. Okay? You've got your nucleus, and these little fibers here are called neural fibrils. I think that's on your list. Just get your anatomy down. The other thing you're going to see here is this big long extension. I know you know that's the axon. The axon is wrapped with myelin, but in the peripheral nervous system, the PNS, these have a name. Okay, this myelin sheath. Each one of these is called a Schwann cell. Okay, so you can see this is the nucleus of that Schwann cell. So if you're asked for the cell, you want to say Schwann cell. If you're asked for the structure, or they're probably looking for myelin. So it's kind of a different question. So myelin is kind of a fatty insulative substance. Okay, so in between each of these Schwann cells, this is a little node, and it's called the node of Ranvier. Okay, so that's a spot where it is not myelinated. The other thing that's tricky, there's connective tissue wrapping around this axon. So it's gray, so don't put anything about the neuron. This is the endoneurium that you're looking at right here. So I'll show you when you're talking about this connective tissue wrapping, the endoneurium wraps individual axons. And then when you have groups of axons, it's actually going to be a different wrapping. It's going to be the peri, and then whole nerves will be wrapped in epi. So we'll talk about that in a second. I think you're good, pretty good for this model here. So this is a great model to look at for that piece. Now we're gonna go through a couple slides, and I'll tell you kind of what you need to know for this particular activity. So you definitely you're going to get asked on a model for the neuron. You're not going to see this picture, but that'll help you sort of get yourself oriented with the model we just looked at. Okay, myelin, what do you need to know for the lab exam? Not only is it's insulative, so you could be asked what is this substance, it's myelin. But don't forget, it's Schwann cells out in the PNS. In the CNS, in the brain and spinal cord, the cell name that wraps with myelin, they're called oligodendrocytes. So I think that might be on here. So if you're in the CNS, they're in the central nervous system, they're oligo. If they're in your peripheral nervous system, they're Schwann cells. Okay? So, cool? We're moving on. Okay, this is a good slide. So I want you to find the slide called Giant Multipolar Neurons. Okay, and it's going to look something like this. Yours isn't going to look quite as good, so make sure you look at it under the microscope. It will be stained with this pink. The big star-looking thing, those are the neurons. Any dot that you see, these are the tiny little glial cells. So the neuroglial cells, you have something like 5 types of neuroglial cells. What you want to know, and I'm going to walk through each one of those, what you want to know for each of those glial cells is its name and just 2 words, function. So just so that you can write it down on the lab exam. So we'll walk through those together, okay? That's a good slide though. All right, so types of neurons. Yes, I think you might need to know this. So these are all neuron types. Let me show you the neuron that you're used to. So the neuron we talked about, this is the neuron we talked about, right? We were thinking about picking up the Coke, and that was that motor neuron that we were talking about. The cell body's up in here, and we're like, I'm gonna pick that up. This is your typical multipolar neuron that you're used to, the one that we showed you from the model. So those are usually motor neurons, okay? So you'd wanna know, hey, multipolar neuron, that's the type of neuron that motor neurons are, okay? There are two other kinds. This kind, you're hardly ever gonna see this. So bipolar neurons, you can see it looks like it has an axon, kind of like on both sides, and then the cell body's in the middle. The only place you're gonna see this is in special senses, in vision. There might be one other place. So you're not gonna see this very often, but just remember, that's what bipolar looks like, just in case. The last type is unipolar, and unipolar neurons are for sensory. So sensory information, right? I'm gonna come and touch you, okay? So you're gonna take that information, that sensory information is gonna travel from your PNS to your CNS and up. That neuron is a unipolar neuron. That sensory neuron is a unipolar neuron. Does that make sense? So the type of neuron that it is unipolar, okay? Doing good. Here we go. Okay, so this is, I kind of alluded to this with the model, is this connective tissue wrapping around our axons, okay? So we said here's one axon, it's wrapped in endoneurium, okay? One axon is wrapped in endo, so right around here, there'd be connective tissue, that's the endo. When it's a group of axons, it's wrapped in peri. And then when it's a whole nerve, like this is your radial nerve, right here. The radial nerve runs over your radius. That whole nerve is wrapped in epineurium. Okay, so just remember that. Connective tissue, that's your key. Name the connective tissue layer, okay? So it'll either be endo, peri, or epineurium. Do we have the same thing for muscles? We do. We have endomysium, we have perimysium, and we have epi. So we have the same thing, like the wrapping, connective tissue wrapping around muscles. Okay, let's do the glial cells. So, my friends, remember, all you need to know is the name of the cell and a couple words for lab. The name of the cell and a couple words. So, astrocytes, what do you want to know? It lives in the CNS. Okay, astrocytes, they live in the CNS, and they make the environment, the chemical environment, good for neurons. Done. Okay? You don't have to know what they look like. You're not going to see them. They'll look like little dots on the slide. Oligo, what did we say they did? CNS myelin. CNS myelin. Okay, microglia. These guys are really important. These are phagocytes. So they go and eat. So if you have a stroke in your brain, who's going to come and clean up all of that debris? They're microglia. So what do? They're phagocytes CNS. Phagocytes CNS. And then Schwann, we saw them. They're myelin wrap in the PNS. Okay, so those just quick. The last, they didn't put satellite cells on there. Let me just look and see if we have to know those. So there is one more group. Yeah, so for us, there's one more group. Satellite cells are in the PNS. We don't really know what they do, okay? But they're in the PNS, just so you know, just in case it comes up. All right, I think, let me look. I want to make sure that you, there is another slide. There is another slide. One more thing. You want to find the slide called peripheral nerve myelin osmic acid. Okay, it's going to look a little bit like this. This is the best one I could find. Peripheral nerve myelin osmic acid. Okay, now what you're going to be seeing are axons. Okay, so you're going to see individual little axons, and it'll ask you something like, what's the connective tissue wrapping? That's endoneurium, if it's one of them. What if it's a whole group of them? Then it would be peri. So it'll ask you in the question, what's the group of axons? They're wrapped in a connective tissue, peri. What if it's the whole nerve? Then it's the epi, okay? So that's your slide for that one. I think we're done now. Perfect. All right.